Good morning, class. This is our last video tape. And we would, for this video tape, I will go over the lesson plan rubric with you. But before we go over lesson plan, I have a couple announcements I'd like to let you know. Your final exam, number one, your final exam is May 8th. It's May 8th, right? So I would, sometime this week, I'll post on the D2L, I'll give you the final exam review problem. And the problems would just look like the final exam. So you will have a practice problem, from D2L sometime this week, I would put on D2L for you to practice. And your final exam will be May 8th, okay? And number two, your lesson plan is due on May 10th. May 10th is your lesson plan due. And then I will give you an example of a lesson plan. And then also the lesson plan rubric will be on D2L. Okay, we'll post on D2L. All right, and May 11th, you should be able to check your final grade for this semester on D2L, okay? All right, and let's go over the lesson plan rubric. So you should have a content knowledge, the content for your lesson plan should cover anything you learn from this class. And has to be the grade level from 5 to 8 grade, okay? So grade level 5 to 8, and any topic, you can pick out from the things you learn from this class. For example, like a function, you can do function machine, and a good lesson plan has to be, fun and interesting. You can do function machine, or you can do anything is interesting. It can, or you want to do a linear equation, or you want to do anything, you have learned from this class, all right? So that's the content knowledge, and then the next, and you're gonna using knowledge of students to inform teaching and learning. And basically your lesson plan, any lesson, you have to connect with the principle, like from the research and theory, okay? Any theory you can connect with, any research you can connect with, will be great, because when we do the teaching has to connect to the research, okay? Or any theory, okay? Now next is development, learning, and motivation. So you can, you need to think about child development, all right? So maybe you have learned some child development from other classes, and you can apply for this, okay? Make sure the child development, right? You cannot, like a 5th grader, and then 5th grader lesson, you cannot use the 9th grader, right? Or you cannot use a 2nd grader. You have to make sure it is a grade, appropriate, and then make sure it's a child development, okay? All right. So, and then also you have to think about the motivation. What's the motivation? And then what kind of things can help in students' motivation for learning? Okay. And then the next is you have to think about, you have to planning to support various student learning needs. Okay. What's the diverse of student? Or what's your strategy for the students, right? What's the For example, what's the slow learner? What's the quick learner, right? You have to think about this. All right, and then academic language demands. So you're, when you do the lesson plan, your language, it has to be academic, okay? All right, so you have to be sure your language is appropriate, okay? And then next, the material. Well, you have to include your material, okay? Appropriate, and then creative. And then what's the material you're using? For example, you're using like including the technology and how, and then you should give a detailed explanation. What's the material you're gonna use, okay? And then here, another thing is important, like a standard. All your lesson plan has to connect to the national standards, right? Or common core standards, something like that, right? Then what objective? So what is objective for this lesson? What's the purpose? What's the objective? You have to include it, for this lesson plan. And you can need to give an introduction, kind of helping people, kind of helping people to kind of get an idea what is the big idea of this lesson for introduction, right? So, for example, like Pythagorean theorem. Maybe you can talk about some of the history and background, kind of helping people understand, what's the background of the Pythagorean theorem. Then we can talk about Pythagorean theorem, okay? And then next is learning strategies. So what's the strategy you're gonna use, right? And you have to have a research-based strategy, okay? So what's the strategy you're gonna use for this lesson plan? And then closure. Now closure is kind of conclusion. Now conclusion is you're gonna review the lesson concept, objectives, and so on, and then about this lesson, okay? And then you're gonna give a student, okay, in the lesson plan, you're gonna include the assessment. So what is assessment? What is assessment? And then you're gonna have for this lesson, right? And then you allow the individual or group of what's a special need to demonstrate their learning, something like that, right? And then reflection, you're gonna have a chance for people to get a reflection for this, right? And then finally is a fall in mechanic. So make sure your grammar, spelling, punctuation, and so on is good in shape. Okay. So this is the rubric of the lesson plan, and I would post this on D2L. You can take a look. Take a look for this lesson plan before you write in a lesson plan. All right. Well, this is last video. All right. And I wish you the best in your teaching career in the future. And good luck for your final exam. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.